All right, let's dive into something pretty intense today. We're going to break down the cascading consequences of our warming planet, but we're going to look at it through a specific lens, as an ultimatum, a final offer, really, from Mother Nature herself. The source material we're digging into presents a really stark choice, one that's based on the extreme changes we're already witnessing. So let's get right into it.
This quote, wow, it really just sets the entire stage, doesn't it? The idea here is that all the wild weather we've been seeing isn't just a series of random one-off events. No, these are previews. They're little glimpses, trailers for a feature film we really don't want to see. So, what is this grim future? And, how does it even start?
Well, to really get a handle on all the effects, the storms, the fires, all of it, we have to go back to the cause. It all boils down to one single fundamental process. The planet's heat engine is being cranked into overdrive.
At its core, it's a pretty simple chain reaction, but it's incredibly powerful. Step 1, we burn fossil fuels. Step 2, CO2 floods the atmosphere. That extra CO2 acts like a thicker blanket around the planet. And what does a thicker blanket do? It traps more heat. And here is the absolutely crucial part. That trapped heat isn't just warmth, it's pure energy. And that energy has to go somewhere.
And that's the bottom line, really. More energy means more chaos. This extra energy doesn't just quietly raise the temperature a little bit. Oh no, it supercharges the entire climate system. It's the fuel for all the massive disruptions we're now seeing play out all across the globe.
So where does that energy hit first? The atmosphere. It's the fastest, most sensitive part of the whole climate system. So it reacts to all that extra energy first. And believe me, it reacts with some pretty dramatic results.
And you can see the symptoms of this energized system everywhere. On one hand, the excess heat and moisture in the air act like steroids for storms and rainfall. But on the other hand, that same heat is baking landscapes dry, creating the perfect tinderbox for these huge, devastating fire seasons. And maybe most importantly, it's destabilizing huge atmospheric patterns, like the jet stream. And that has some really weird consequences.
So what does happen? Okay, think of the jet stream as a giant, fast-flowing river of air high above us. Its main job has always been to act like a gatekeeper, keeping the bitter, freezing polar air locked up in the Arctic. But as the planet warms, the Arctic is warming way faster than anywhere else. That weakens the temperature difference that powers the jet stream, and that strong, stable gatekeeper, well, it gets weak. It starts to wobble and waver. The source material gives us the perfect analogy for this. It's brilliant. Just picture the Arctic as a giant freezer in your kitchen. A normal, strong jet stream is like a tightly sealed freezer door. The cold stays inside, right where it belongs. But a weak, wobbly jet stream, that's like leaving the freezer door wide open. And what happens? All that cold air just spills out all over the kitchen floor.
And there it is. That's the punchline. When you hear about a polar vortex on the news bringing bone-chilling, record-breaking cold to places like Texas, it isn't a sign that the planet is actually cooling. It's a sign that the Arctic's freezer door has been left ajar and that freezing air is leaking way south of where it's supposed to be.
But the atmosphere is only half the story. It's the loud, dramatic half. At the same time, there's a much slower, quieter, and potentially even more dangerous crisis unfolding almost silently beneath the waves, in our ocean.
This crisis is all about a system called the AMOC. Now that sounds super technical, I know, but you can just think of it as the ocean's great conveyor belt. It's this massive, globe-spanning circulatory system that's constantly moving heat, oxygen, and nutrients all around the planet.
And its job is absolutely critical to life as we know it. It pulls warm water away from the equator, which helps cool the tropics. It then carries that warm water north, which is pretty much the main reason large parts of Europe don't freeze over. And at the same time, it's driving this huge circulation of oxygen and nutrients that marine life depends on.
So here's the threat. The whole conveyor belt is powered by a delicate balance of water temperature and saltiness. But as global temperatures rise, they're melting glaciers and ice sheets at a shocking rate. This is pouring a huge amount of cold, fresh water into the ocean, and it's throwing that whole delicate balance at a whack. The big concern among scientists is that this could slow down, or in a worst-case scenario, just stop the entire system cold. So, you put it all together. You've got this chaotic, supercharged atmosphere and these massive, faltering ocean currents. The source material we're looking at presents this whole situation not as some far-off problem for our grandkids, but as an immediate choice for us, an ultimatum.
So what is that ultimatum? Well, it's a choice between two very, very different paths forward, with two completely different outcomes for every single one of us.
On one side, you've got Path 1, action. This means getting serious about reducing fossil fuels and finding ways to pull the excess CO2 that's already up there out of the atmosphere. The result, according to our source, a chance to restore some balance. Then you've got Path 2, inaction. Just ignore the warnings, keep going as we are. And the result of that? Rising seas swallowing coastal cities, fertile farmland turning to desert, and a desperate scramble for resources.
And the source puts the consequences of that inaction in some of the most chillingly personal terms I've ever heard. It's not about abstract concepts anymore, it's about being evicted, about becoming climate refugees on our own planet, just looking for a place that can still support us.
So, in the end, the source material leaves us right here, with this incredibly powerful question. It lays out the science, it makes the stakes crystal clear, and it shows us the two roads ahead. The only thing it doesn't tell us is which path we're ultimately going to take. So the question is, which future are we writing right now?